The sun blazed down on Ridgewood High's courtyard, where laughter and gossip filled the air like usual. But that afternoon, the laughter took on a cruel edge, one that cut through the heart of a girl who had only wanted a fresh start. Her name was Tessa Holloway, a quiet 16-year-old who had just transferred from a small rural town after her father's sudden death. Her eyes carried the tired look of someone who had cried too much already, and her clothes, simple jeans, a pale yellow hoodie, made her an easy target among the flashy crowd of city kids. That day, as she stood alone near the water fountain, clutching her lunch tray and trying not to look lost, the bullies decided she would be their entertainment. Before we go deeper into this emotional story of courage, redemption, and inner strength, if you believe kindness can still change the world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Journal. Your support helps spread more real stories of compassion and second chances. Tessa had barely opened her juice box when the courtyard went silent for a second, the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Across the yard, a boy named Reed Mallory, the loudest and most arrogant of the group, whispered something to his friends Gina and Tyler. They all grinned, that cruel teenage grin that promised trouble. Reed grabbed a nearby garden hose used by the janitor to water the plants. He turned it full blast, the pressure spraying out a powerful stream of water. And before Tessa could even step back, a cold, shocking jet slammed into her chest, drenching her completely. The entire courtyard erupted in laughter. Tessa gasped, her hoodie clinging to her like a second skin, hair plastered against her cheeks. Her tray dropped, the sound of her lunch hitting the wet pavement echoing through the air. She stumbled backward, blinded by the water, hearing Reed yell mockingly, "Welcome to Ridgewood, country girl!" Gina filmed it on her phone, while Tyler's laughter filled the air like poison. For a few seconds, Tessa stood frozen. Then she ran, not into the school, but toward the back fence near the trees. The laughter chased her like ghosts. She tripped once, scraping her knee, but kept going until she reached the shade of an old oak tree behind the gym. She leaned against it, shivering, trying to catch her breath. Tears mixed with the water on her face, her body shaking from humiliation. In that moment, she remembered her father's words, the ones he'd said when life had knocked them down before. "When people show you cruelty, Tess, don't let them define you. You define how it ends." But how could anyone rise after being publicly destroyed like that? Hours later, after school ended, Tessa sat in the locker room alone. Her clothes had dried into cold patches, her hair stiff from the water. She had skipped her last 2 classes, too humiliated to return. Yet instead of crying again, she sat in silence, staring at her reflection in the mirror. The girl looking back wasn't weak. Not anymore. Beneath the embarrassment, something else burned, not revenge, not hate, but quiet determination. She wiped her eyes, stood up, and walked toward the gym's training room. There, against the back wall, was the boxing equipment used by the school's team. Her father had trained her since she was 10. Not to fight others, but to defend herself and never give in to fear. He had been a small-town firefighter who taught her resilience through every fall and scar. Tessa unwrapped her hands, grabbed a pair of old gloves, and started hitting the punching bag. Each strike echoed through the empty gym, carrying her pain, her anger, and her promise that she would never let anyone make her feel small again. For the next week, she trained in secret every afternoon, timing her punches and practicing quick dodges. But her training wasn't about hurting them. It was about regaining control of her life. Every bruise she'd carried from life's blows was turning into strength. And when word spread that Tessa had joined the gym team, the bullies laughed, until the school's charity sports day arrived. It was a warm Friday morning. The courtyard was packed again, this time for the student versus teacher challenge games. Reed and his friends strutted around like kings, surrounded by their fans. Tessa, meanwhile, stood quietly at the back, wearing her simple sports uniform. She didn't look angry, she just looked ready. When her name was called for the final match, a team relay that ended with a self-defense demonstration, Reed's group was stunned. The same girl they'd soaked a week ago was now walking confidently toward the mat, tying her hair back calmly. The crowd murmured, some whispering that she should just quit. But Tessa didn't hear them. She was focused. The whistle blew. The relay went fast, and though Tessa's team was behind, when it came to the last segment, the self-defense challenge, she stepped forward. The teacher asked for volunteers to play the aggressors. Reed raised his hand instantly, smirking. Gina and Tyler followed. The crowd laughed, sensing drama. But when the first attack started, the laughter stopped. Reed lunged, pretending to grab her arm. Tessa moved swiftly, sidestepping, using his momentum, and flipping him harmlessly but powerfully onto the mat. Gasps filled the air. Reed scrambled up, red-faced, and tried again, harder this time. She blocked, twisted, and lightly pinned him to the ground, perfectly controlled, without cruelty. The other two hesitated. The crowd was no longer laughing. They were cheering. The principal clapped. The coach nodded proudly. And for the first time since her arrival, Tessa saw something she hadn't seen before: respect. But what she did next was what truly made them run. When the demonstration ended, the principal asked her if she wanted to say something. Tessa took the microphone, her hands trembling slightly. She glanced at Reed, Gina, and Tyler, their faces pale, their laughter long gone. And then, instead of shaming them, she did something no one expected. "I know what it's like to feel alone," she said, her voice steady but emotional. "When people hurt you, you start to believe maybe you deserve it. But you don't. No one does. I came here hoping for a new start, and maybe you didn't know my story. My dad passed away last month. I moved here because I needed to begin again. I didn't come to fight. I came to heal. And I forgive you. All of you." The courtyard went completely silent. Even the birds seemed to pause. Reed's eyes widened. Gina lowered her phone. Tyler looked away. The same crowd that had once cheered their cruelty was now clapping for her courage. Reed tried to speak, but no words came out. He just turned, walked away quietly, and for the first time not with confidence but with guilt. Gina followed, her head lowered. Tyler disappeared into the crowd. Tessa stood there, the sun shining down on her, water from the earlier match glistening on her skin like a badge of strength. That moment became the turning point not only for her, but for everyone who had witnessed it. The next week, Reed and his friends apologized. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Sometimes the loudest lesson doesn't come from shouting or revenge. It comes from calm forgiveness that disarms even the cruelest hearts. Tessa continued her training, not to fight others, but to inspire others who had been hurt. Her story spread through the school, and soon, the video Gina had filmed, the same one meant to humiliate her, was deleted and replaced with a new one, Tessa's speech. If this story of kindness, strength, and forgiveness touched your heart today, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every click helps us tell more stories that prove love and courage can still win over hate. And before this story ends, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below. Kindness is stronger than cruelty. Let's fill the world with voices that heal instead of hurt. As the sun set over Ridgewood High that evening, Tessa sat beneath the same oak tree where she had once cried. The golden light filtered through the leaves, warm and peaceful. She smiled faintly, feeling the quiet pride of someone who had faced cruelty and turned it into strength. Somewhere in the distance, laughter echoed again, but this time it wasn't mocking. It was lighter, human. Because sometimes one act of forgiveness can change the entire sound of a place. And that's what Tessa Holloway did. She changed Ridgewood forever. End of story.